Hello, everybody. This is Gwen. Today is Monday, September the 19th, 2022. I'm going to review This Black Nation. This is book two uh, by Ajalisa Vaz, or The Radical Sister. This is book two of This Black, one of um, the truly pro-black books there are that I've ever read. Now, first off, the book was fantastic, but I'm going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about her writing style, poetry versus prose. Then we're going to discuss poetry a little bit more. I'm going to give you my thoughts. And among the thoughts that I put some links to was what I call intelligent Ebonics. Before the word Ebonics came out, the word was Negro dialect. And then I'm going to talk about the future of real pro-black literature. So let me think about. First, I'm going to look at my notes. I'm going to write them and get talk about them and get those out the way for you. And then we're going to talk about how to read this book or more about how to read the book. I got one of those half size tablets, on a clipboard. It's like you fold 8 by 10 piece of paper in half and that size tablet. And that's what I was writing my little notes on. And what I was doing was writing down my thought because I can't give you a spoiler, but I can tell you my thoughts when it was happening, when I was reading it. So on page 10, there's a paragraph, and I put down nice. It's the third paragraph. Nice. That's it, the word nice, because I read something that I considered very nice. I said I was going to stop writing them down by page 50. After page 50, I was going to stop, but I couldn't because it was just too much good stuff in there. Okay. Um, Page 7, I saw something really cool, but I can't tell you because it's gonna be a surprise, and it was a surprise when I saw it, and I can't even tell you what I was surprised about. I got down here that it is an honor to be living in this age because we're living in a period of history that's going to be significant in the future. I take a lot of I took a lot of classes in humanities, culture, history, and society, and about and how things happen. And at some point, when you take a lot of classes and read a lot of stuff about it, you begin to see patterns. One of the patterns is that most people don't know it's significant when it's happening, but when you look at it enough, you can see all the earmarks of something significant that's going to be important in the future. Because in hindsight, the people can see it. Us in today, we can look back at the stuff from yesterday and notice all the things that led up to what happened and when and why. We can discuss why, analyze it, but we're looking at it in hindsight after the fact. I'm seeing the earmarks now on these books. And this is before the fact. This is current times, and that's why it's such an honor for me to be living in this time to be able to watch it. She's got a different writing style, and it's a new writing style, and I dare say it's a new genre. And I believe that it's going to be, I'm pretty confident it's going to be important in the future. And so for now, we've got to learn how to read that the way she's writing it. I suspect that she doesn't even know how good this is. I suspect she doesn't even understand how good this is. Okay, so that's an honor for me to be here and living and watching that with all the stuff hanging going on in the world. This kind of thing is the kind of thing that makes me glad that I am here to watch it go down and watch this change happening because things like this are instruments of change. Okay, so I got that written down. Line one, chapter one is one of my all-time favorite opening lines of a book, and I can't tell you what it was. Um, Look at the previous one of her other videos. I think it was either Yappa Yappa or her video where she's on a panel, and she let me read that line out or describe that line, and so there was that line. I didn't get explicit permission to say it on this video, so I'm not going to say it. But it was one of my all-time favorite opening lines. I mean, lines in a book, and I think I got like four favorite lines that are in a different books over the years, and this one has become one of them. And then I wrote down here next: every page is something cool. I mean that. Every page is something cool, and I ain't even got to page 30 yet. I mean, when I read her book, I have to stop and think about it, read a little bit, stop and think, ponder, backtrack, look at that statement from all kind of angles, and then read the next statement, and then backtrack to continue the storyline because it got to where almost every paragraph was something cool. And I got on her page 31 or so, real life paragraph. Love it. This is the coolest stuff on page 36. On 38, comment about time. So cool. Yeah, I'm going to use the word cool a lot. Next page here. Okay, page 46. She went there. Gleeps. And then I wrote, oh shit. Meaning she went there. Gleeps. She said something that we wasn't supposed to be talking about. Gleeps. And she said what she had to say about it, and that meant, oh shit. And then on page 46, further down, preach girl. That's what I wrote. 3D factorial. This is still on page 36. 3D fractal writing. 3D thinking. 3D fractal writing and thinking. What I mean by that is, and that's why I say that black people are the only people on the planet that could have made the pyramids because we can think in fractals and we can think in stacked thoughts that repeat like a fractal, except this is like pyramids, little mini pyramid thoughts and concepts all through the thinking. You have to be able to think like that to write this. Okay, and she's got fractal thinking and writing. Look up fractals when you get a chance to. That's all it is. A pine cone is one of the samples that they usually give a sample as I mean, an example of a fractal because the little pine shape thingy, the little seeds go in a spiral all up around the pine cone till it gets to the tip. But each one of those little seed thingies, little sticky out thingy, wood thingy, they are basically shaped like the other, and that's what they call it. That's what they call it a fractal because it repeats on itself and bends. Um, Fractal isn't really the right word, but that's as close a word as I can think of that would convey the meaning. It's almost like mini pyramids. But anyway, it's fractal thinking and writing because you have to be able to think inside of a thought, inside of a thought, inside of a dimension. And it is multidimensional. Her first one was 3D writing. This is like four or five dimensions because you got to add. This one I add time and something I can't even name. Okay, so that's fractal thinking. 51. A turn of phrase that puts you there in that presence, in that person. A form of noticing things. A notice, right? I got bullet point. A notice of things, and I got the word notice in capital in all caps. A notice of things. What I meant when I was reading that passage that made me say that is she was describing a situation, or rather, and I'm gonna start calling her the author or the person who was speaking. The author was describing a situation where it's a common mundane action that everybody does notice in themselves when they're doing this action, but they never think of it. Like when you sit down in a chair and your pants leg rises up a little bit on your ankle, that's a natural thing, but you don't never go beyond just looking at it. You got to have a special kind of mind to actually notice that and know to repeat it in a story as you're writing it. She didn't write that particular thing, but that's just an idea of how living life worked in the book that brings you there and is so close to real life. That's what I mean by a notice of things. On page 54, I smiled so much looking at the cool stuff. This is a page where I was reading something so cool that my face was hurting because I was smiling so much. I was smiling all the way past my ears to the back of my neck because that smile was, I mean, I was smiling. Sometimes, have you ever seen those people who smile from the top of their head all the way down to the bottom of their chin? Yeah, that kind of smile. And I didn't realize it till my jaw was sort of aching. Wow. So I smiled so much looking at cool stuff. And then I jumped to page 73 because I tried to stop writing. So it's a big gap between page 54 and 73. Okay, so I wrote, love the something with the modern world. Okay, I said I love the, I'm not going to tell you the word because it's a spoiler, but it, with the modern world. Love the blank with the modern world. Nope, I'm not going to tell you. On page 91, special question to the universe, and the blank found the answer. I ain't telling you that either. But I liked it. On page 93, even the space, there was a part of the book that had a blank space because it was going from one section to the next, but it was in the middle of a paragraph. I mean, a chapter. And I got even the blank space was poetic because it was a statement. And with me having my reader, my electronic reader set on black, I thought that was even more endearing because that was fun for me. I had my setting set on black theme, so mine was even more profound, and I got a smiley face. Cause excuse me, because I liked it. Page 101, I wrote down a very smart book. Excuse me, smarter than something people, and then the WHORE, indeed, a message to us all. Yeah, I got down here as a very smart book, smarter than something I can't tell what I read. People, yeah, and then there's something about that has to do with WHORE. Okay, and then I wrote down, yeah, a message to us all. There's something that I wanted to on page 101 thereabouts. 117 cracks me up. 126, the hedge, such imagery. Now about the hedge, I'm going to come back to that because I want to use that as part of my example on poetry and prose. Okay, so and I'm gonna pull up this black to talk about that. On 132, I smiled because I love what she wrote. The levels of reality. I wrote that. That's what I said. I smiled because I love what she wrote. The levels of reality. And then I have to reread it to see what happened. And I did. I read it and I got what was happening. 134. Wow. That's all I wrote was wow. 136. It's heaven on purpose. 142. The author writes a passage that I can't help but smile at the creativity. Look at that. And then I got another smiling face. And 144, coon, LOL. 145, 155. I have the Ebonics spelled out. I love how the Ebonics are spelled out. And then I have a sample word. And I got sophisticated Ebonics. And I got Langston Hughes to compare by. I wrote down Langston Hughes, compare it to compare and contrast that. Instructing us, 150, 159, instructing us to take responsibility. A textbook. 171. Oh shit. One 180, I think. Yeah, 180. The giggling chapter. The whole thing. I was just giggling and la la LOL. 171. Teaching. Wow. And 176. Wow. Just wow. 180. Daggone. Well played. Well pleased. Truth there. And she did. And that's code. Now, along the book, as I was reading, I was the book was offering insights that helped me elevate myself as a person. Excuse me. And one of the things that I was doing was writing down "oh shit" and "damn" and stuff like that. But then I got to where I didn't want to say "oh shit" because there's nothing about this book is that's crap or me or anything else that was going on. So I wrote down "oh shit," crossed it out, and then put down "my goodness." And it was something relating to time because I'm elevating myself as I was reading. I was, said, well, wait a minute, there's things I can learn here and or relearn because I know better than to say cuss words about things I care about because that's damning it. That's what you do. You decrease it. And so I put down "my goodness" because I'm evolving and coming back to my full black self, my level, my blackness levels. Now, 192, I wrote down, she writes her cliffhanger at the beginning of the chapter. And then she spends the chapter telling you how it got there, which is fun because that's what she did. That's how she wrote This Black One. You already knew the ending because she told you that at the beginning. The journey was figuring out how it got there. That was her book. The cliffhanger is at the beginning of the passage. This is pure fun to read. That's what I wrote. This is on 192. The cliffhanger is at the beginning of the chapter. This is pure fun to read. 196. A new word, maybe? Made me smile too. Then I got something that I can't say out loud because it'll spoil the surprise. And then 263. Oh, goodness. 268. The dreaded mirror. 274. Oh my goodness. And then that's me crossing out bad words again. And I just gave them and said, oh well. Because I crossed out, oh shit, put it back, crossed it out again, and then got tired and said, oh well. But I knew what I meant. Oh my goodness. And oh well. Okay. 293. She did such a good job writing this. And then 298, it goes, ah, I see. And after 298, I stopped writing because I was at the stage now where I could put it down. In a book, when I'm reading it, it gets that can't put it down stage, and that's at different points. It got to where I got to almost to the can't put it, but the stage before the can't put it down stage, at page 100, and that's the stage where I'm thinking about the plot of the book in my waking life. That is, in my life while I'm washing dishes or doing something else, I'm thinking about the book. um, that started happening at about page 100 or so, where I'm taking it mentally with me as I'm doing other stuff. That means I can't wait to get back in it. Can't put it down means I don't put it down unless I'm sleeping, because I can't. I have been one of the ones who called in after a long weekend from reading Harry Potter. And I did it more than once. And I'll do it again. Now, let's go up here and talk about poetry and prose and how to read her book. Now, let's look at her writing style a little bit. I was given, somebody let me know that not everybody that can read it, they don't get it. So, what we're going to talk about is how to read it, because you can't read it like you do an ordinary book. Excuse me. You can't read it like you do an ordinary book that's straight up prose. Like a regular paragraph in sequential order, because it's not going to be like that. This is going to wrap around you, and you got to be able to hold a thought, and you got to have the a longer attention span. And that's why I said we got to build synapses in this modern world of everything drive through and fast and all. We have a tendency not to need to have a longer attention span than a few seconds or a few minutes. There's nothing we do that requires no more than a few seconds of thought. But that's a weakness on our part and on most people's part, because they can't concentrate very long. And the upcoming world that we're about to live in, that's going to be a liability. So we got to take some time and build some synapses. The way when I keep saying building synapses, that's the way the brain works. From the moment a baby is born, every stimulation that a little creature has is building a synapses. Synapses are ways of is the pathway to thought. Picture a piece of paper, blank piece of paper, right? Draw a big old circle on it, a big hollow circle, just a circle, and then fill that circles with a series of little lines and squiggles. Those are synapses. And each new experience of any kind creates another line. Eventually, these lines will connect to each other in some way, um, um, and they'll get more complicated, like little branch lines coming out, and they will circle back and react. Even when people have a brain injury and it's in the middle between synapses, the brain will build pathways around the injured place to reconnect each other. It'll build new pathways because it wants to think. But if a person never learned concentration and focus, they won't have the synapses for it because they never experienced, they never had to do it. So a lot of us are reading at a disadvantage because we haven't got the concentration and focus for that. Not for reading. You might have a synapses for video game, but that's still fast stimulus. This is mental stimulus, and it's going to be in your head. It's not going to be a visual. It's going to be a visual that you put there yourself. So we're going to talk about how to do that. Now, first thing first is we're going to look at her writing style. And I talked about this in the first video. We're going to go to Silver Mirrors, which is a book on Amazon. Okay, we're gonna look inside, and we're going to look at how they wrote. Excuse me. I'm trying to get to the meat of one of the chapters. You see all these commas when they write? Let me go back here. Chapter 1. There. Now, you see that comma? This long sentence and a comma, another long section and a period, then another long section and another comma and a period. So they got like one, two, three commas in one sentence. And it's read, there is no way for him to kidnap those girls, move his infernal machines, and elude the authorities without aid from somewhere, probably a high-ranking accomplice. That's all that sentence says. Now that's straight up prose. That's prose, except it's giving you a full thought with a lot of commas, because each part of that added to the concept that the person was thinking. And so that's the writing style of this author. And this all the way through the book, you got to be able to hold the first thought. Um, Rosico had found a memories of archives, and then hold a second thought, and then finish it. Okay, so all through here, there's a lot of commas, and I'm gonna close that and go to the next one. This is Trailer Park Faye. I'm gonna see if I can get chapter one. I think it's chapter one. You see how this one writes? Summer, soft green hills and shaded dales lay breathless under a pall of smoky apple blossom dusk. So you just got it's summertime. You got the thought of green hills and dales and dusk. So they got one, two commas and a hyphenated word. And then it talks about this person that's called Summer. But anyway, this is a writing style with a lot of hold that thought from the first part all the way to the last part. And these are just the preliminaries sentences. This book has a lot more complicated sentences, but you still got to hold that thought as you read the book. Now I'm gonna go to Sister Aja Lee's book. This one is This Black Woman. And it talks about when I purchased it. You darn right I purchased it. And I'm gonna go to the first pages. Oh shoot. Well, let's see how far we can get in there. Because I want to go to that section of the hedges. But anyway, one comma. Okay. It's so basically, I'm showing that it's the same writing style, except that she uses her wording a little bit differently because she's telling a different story. And I think those hedges were on page 40 in her book. So it's not in this part. I honestly do believe those hedges are on page 40. Now, I like this style because she's going through different tenses at the same time, past, present, and future. She's the only one that I've seen able to write. I've seen countless books where they talk about an entity that's able to experience time in all three levels, past, present, future, at the same time, where they would say time doesn't have a meaning for them. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter to them because they're experiencing all phases of time at the same time. This is the first book I've seen where it's depicted literally, um, where I can see what it looks like. Now, I really do feel like I've experienced that with that book in hers. Now, let me see if I can find something that we can talk about when we talk about poetry. I swear I had that thing already fixed up yesterday, last night, as a matter of fact. I do believe Amazon is doing something because I was able to pull Sister Audrey Lee's book right up as early as last night. Wasn't that cool? Look at that. Okay. Now I'm gonna minimize this and go to this part about poetry because I'm gonna talk about how to read the book. So you saw how the comma thing worked, and that's just a writing style. That's all that is. Now let's talk about how to read this book. What we're gonna talk about a little bit is how to the difference between poetry and prose, and how to read a passage of her book. And I'm sorry I keep sniffing. I didn't know I was getting sniffly. This is online, and all I did was just download a Google search for the difference between poetry and prose, and this is one of the websites that just came up in the search. It's real fast and easy. You saw me um, click on the web address. Literature can be categorized into two main classifications based on the structure of the language. These two categories are known as poetry and prose. What is prose? The structure, style, and language used. What is poetry? Structure, style, language used, etc. And the comparison. So here we go. That the reason why I use this one is because I like this quick little chart. This is no by no way yet all inclusive, but it is a good place to start. Prose. Prose does not pay attention to rhyme or rhythm. Poetry does pay attention to rhyme and rhythm. Excuse me. But I'm going to add to this as well. Not all poetry rhymes. You think it does, but it doesn't. It doesn't have to rhyme. They have this, I forgot the name, I want to call it freestyle, but it's a type of poetry that doesn't rhyme. It's basically a complicated essay, and a poem can be one word. Writers usually, for prose, writers usually have no word limit. Poetry does have a word limit. Poetry is concentrated. That's one of the main things to know about poetry when you want to interpret it. It's concentrated words. It's few words with big meanings. One word with a lot of context. A lot of words. One word to say 1,000. But with prose, you might take 1,000 words to get one concept. Poetry is the opposite. Um, a, One word to make a big concept, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But just know that poetry, they're given a really simple definition of poetry, but that'll be fine for now. Poetry is compact, dense language, full of meaning, big meaning, but dense words, compacted words. One word brings a whole concept and an explosion of concept for all that one word. Okay, so it's not just pretty, it's dense, compacted, concentrated word, compressed word. Almost like when you get a compressed file on your computer, that little bitty file explodes out and all that to all that data that you are getting ready to look at. That's how poetry is. That one word. Okay, ideas are written in sentences and sentences are grouped into paragraph. In poetry, ideas are written in lines and they are grouped into stanzas. That's important. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit too. The language is more natural and grammatical. Language is figurative and rhythmic, rhythmic. I can't say that. Cull, rhythmical. It's very figurative, not necessarily rhythmic, because when they're doing freestyle poetry, they don't necessarily rhyme or even give you rhythm. The only way you get rhythm is if they're reading it themselves, but sometimes it doesn't have to rhyme. Poetry, prose can be understood by reading once. Poetry must be read more than once. More than one reading is needed, maybe needed to understand the meaning. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely. I am going to put this in the description box so y'all can further explore this concept. I don't know why they keep on wanting this skinny, skanky little thing with the little underwear commercial. Okay, so that's poetry versus prose. And I don't know what that world I was looking at, but I'm gonna see what that world I put here. Oh, yeah, I put in the web links um, that I used to look this up so that you can explore yourself. Okay, and this is a link to how to analyze poetry in 6 steps, which is something you should do too. Okay, just take some little time and just look at them. Now, this is the when I was in literature class, my professor used this poem, The Emperor of Ice Cream, as the tool to teach us about poetry. And I like the way that this particular website did it in analyzing it. You see how they have the red and blue, the pink and blue colors and the green? Each one of those is going to be analyzed down here. Like this is the blue part, and this part is going to be analyzed by the blue and the red part. and then the green part. The main thing to remember with poetry, and I'll let y'all read this at your own time. I'm going to go over some of the most important points that to me is the poem called The Big Cigars. Let me call the roller of the big cigars, or rather, call the roller of big cigars, the muscular one, and bring him whip. In kitchen cups, conspicuous curds, let the wenches dawdle in such dress as they would used to wear, and let the boys bring flowers in last month's newspaper. Let the let be the finality of seem, the only emperor's emperor of ice cream. That sounds totally stupid as hell, right? But here's what it is. Um, each one of these stanzas is telling a big bunch of words. This is a translation. Bring the big strong man. This is the translation on this side. Bring the big strong man who makes cigars and tell him to get to work making ice cream with lusty curds of milk. Tell the women they can wear whatever they normally wear and tell the boys to bring flowers in old newspaper. And then they talk about the triumph over illusion. And that's that part about let the finality of seem, that is, get through with what seems to be whatever and let it be real. Inside the down here in this next chapter, it translates as inside the drawer of the pine dresser that's missing three knobs, you'll find a bed sheet belonging to the dead woman, one which she stitched herself with elaborate patterns. Lay it over her body, make sure her face is covered, but if her feet with her bunions show, let 'em stick out. Just to remind everybody that she's cold and dead. Fix a lamp light on her in full glare. It is shine the light on her, and the only real emperor is the emperor of ice cream. The poetry reads as take the dresser of deal, lacking three glass knobs, that sheet, on which she embroidered fantails once, and spread it so as to cover her face. If her horny feet protrude, they come to show how cold she is and dumb. Let the lamp affix this beam. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. They talked about the juxtaposition of realities, and this is the blue part, and that's what they did on that one. This one is not the definition that I buy so much. I like this one that's on the red because there's a certain part of it that I need to talk about. Let the wenches dawdle. And this is my aha moment when my teacher was teaching me poetry and how to interpret it. She was walking around and she was leaning on the wall, and she says, what does dawdle mean? And she leaned on the door frame, and she was talking and she was demonstrating how someone would dawdle. And that's my aha moment was that and she was talking to the class and she was leaning and demonstrating. And my aha moment was that dwaddling is a lazy thing that you do when you're inside of your body, a living body. You're slothful, you're lazy, you're soft, you're looking around. All of those things are happening when you are alive. The lady can't do that no more, the one that's dead. So enjoy your fleeting life while you can, because the only thing you can do is lay under a sheet after you're gone. So that's what this part of the interpretation came from. Though it's not spelled out explicitly, the emperor of ice cream is that life is fleeting, and because that is precious. That's the whole meaning of the whole poem, as far as I'm concerned. With poetry words, though, concentrated words like wenches, this is a concentrated word. It's a young female, and that she's dwaddling. That means she's leaning on stuff, moving slow. being indulgent inside of her body. That's the only thing a living, I mean, that's only way you can do that is that you're alive to do it. So it's concentrated. Dawdle is a concentrated word. It's you got lazy, you got all the definitions of dawdle in that word, right? So all of those words when you read it, those hundred or tens of words that imply dawdle go in that poem. When you read a poem and you read a stanza, you got to concentrate and look at each word and see what images come to your mind with your life experience in that word, as well as what the author wrote. Your life experience comes in there too, because you won't even understand what the words mean unless you have some kind of knowledge prior to that word. And then you've got to look at all the several other meanings that that are similar to that word, and bring all of that, and that's how you get the meaning that the author is trying to tell you. Okay, it's concentrated word. That one word means a thousand. Okay, that's the biggest thing to know about poetry and poetry interpretation. Read these and just look at them when you get through. When I finish this review, because this will help you understand her book. Because she's writing, but she's writing in stanzas. Her her words with those commas, put take that word, and when you see a comma, consider that the end of a stanza, and then concentrate on all the levels of meaning for that one little stanza. Listen, read it, think it through, one stanza at a time. And that's going to take you a while to read, but you have to be able to focus to do that. Okay? So, look at each statement, each little period as a stanza. As you read it, you'll read one phrase and then see that comma, concentrate, finish it, figure it out, and then hold that thought and read the next little phrase that goes with it. And then need the next phrase that goes with that. And then put them together, and then you got her full thought. But it takes that kind of concentration. I can go through it and read it because I can do that already. A lot of people can't already because they never had that training yet. But you just got the training, so now you got to go experience it. In college, they asked me to tutor some of the other college students in poetry, and the teachers came back to me, and well, professors came back to me and told me how they the other student, it was two black students, matter of fact, it had improved their grades right off. I mean, right after, their next quiz, they had already improved because I just explained it to them, basically what I just said now. So that'll help. These are the links to the web pages that I went to and the search in case y'all want to do further research yourself. Okay. It's good to be reading poetry out loud, but you don't have to. I like for Maya Angelou to read her poetry out loud. I don't, I like some of her poems, but I honestly like when KRS-One was in full form in volume in album 1 through 4. I liked his poetry. He probably don't even think of it as poetry, but that's what it was, and I loved it. And he had layers and layers. I liked it, and so these are some links that you can use for further research, right here. So feel free to investigate those. Now we're going to talk about it. I, I hope you're good on poetry because and if you're not, just go ahead and review what I said and review and read that again and look at it because it'll get you there. And then open up a book and read those in terms of stanzas and partial thoughts on the way to a bigger thought. And that's why it wraps around you because each little sub thought is something that further explains the major thought. and then go to the next line. So it might take you a while to read it. And don't be discouraged. Just keep doing that and hold that thought, because even at every phase, everything that you reach, you're building the brain cells to concentrate and develop. Because this is not a book that's going to be something you can flip through or skip. You don't want to skip. After you do that, like I just said, you'll see how genius that is. Okay. There were some parts in that book that I didn't even think was written by a human being. That's right. If I didn't remember her, and I did, as I was thinking about that, I said that wasn't even written by a person. I did. I thought that when I read something in there. I said a person didn't write that. A person couldn't write that. But if I didn't remember, I had to remind myself of all the times I seen her on the videos talking about she has to go and write 10 more pages. So all of us practically saw her write the book. We didn't see her typing, but we did see her go through writing that book every almost every other video when she was writing it. I gotta hurry up and write pages. She would say, I gotta hurry up and write my pages, my 10 pages. She used to start, I think she started off writing, trying to write 5 pages at a time, and then she got it up to 10. And then she got to rolling toward the end. Um, but she said, I gotta, I can't do this because I gotta go do writing. I haven't been online this much because I gotta focus on writing. So I know that I was witness to her writing, so I know that she wrote that, whatever that part that I was talking about, that couldn't be written by a person. But if I didn't see her doing it, I'd rather, see her doing it to my satisfaction to believe that she actually was writing. I wouldn't have believed it. That's why it's among the things it's such an honor to be alive during this period. I sound like such a fangirl, I know, and I am. I think her and Yapa Yapa are the biggest fans of each other, and I'm right behind them. And it's just a good time to be alive in the world, despite all of the junk that's going on, because we're witnessing a bit of history in the making. Now, this is Langston Hughes's book, Not Without Laughter. I got a copy of that, just a little paperback copy on my shelf downstairs. And so I like to use his. I'm going to use his to explore the concept of Negro dialect, because I thought the way she handled, well, shoot, phooey. I thought the way she handled it was very, very, very nice. Ebonics, or some people might call it Ebonics, and I'm calling it intelligent Ebonics. Now, in this book, this is by Langston Hughes. It was written in the 20s, I believe, and he's a very famous black author, and he's written a lot of books and poems, mostly poems. And this is Negro dialect that I see in here. um, Aunt Hager said aloud, "Huh, a storm's a coming," and then it went all that, and then she said again, "Show is a storm a coming. Show is a storm coming." Okay, now when you look at this, you picture this lady, and you know that she's most likely a black woman who's not highly educated, and but she's probably very, very smart, just not educated. But she lives and she's able to function, and she's fine, and she's speaks the language of the people around her, where they can understand her, and she can understand them. But that right there, that phrase, "show is a storm coming," coming without a G, and sure, not Shure, but show, that would be what they call Negro dialect. She's Sister Angelique's book has Negro dialect in it, but it's surrounded by other big words by the same speaker, and it's hysterical, and it's so neat. to watch and read. Be prepared for that because this is Negro dialect with a purpose, or Ebonics, intelligent Ebonics with a purpose, or simply a new language of black people, because that's the way we speak. And so I loved reading that when she wrote that. I loved it. I got the biggest kick out of it. And so that's something to look out for and have fun reading it like that. Show going to be a terrible storm. I don't mind this. I like this too when I was reading it, when I read it the first time. I didn't mind that, but I love hers. See, right here, it gives on Esther the voice that's saying that, but the author is writing regular language. He's quoting the Aunt Hager, but in this one, in Sister Jalee's book, she's actually the author is actually the one that's saying the words, and it's so cool, and it just tickled me. I thought I'd mention that. I noticed it, and it is priceless. So now this is where I call myself getting this Black Nation and getting that part of it that I wanted. Let me see if I can still get it. I should have been able to go right to it, but I swear it some things moved. Now this is look inside this Black Nation, and this is some quotes that I liked. This is just out of the beginning in the introduction. Shh, I keep missing. What in the world am I trying to hit when I'm doing that? Missing my little thingy. Okay, there you go. Now, first off, let's talk about this cover. This cover, I would have bought the book alone. I don't care what would have been in it. I would have bought something with this cover because this is a young man looking powerful, a young black man looking powerful, and I am so happy to see that in media, even if we made our own media, which is perfectly fine with me. Now, let's talk about this. And even as I read this, I feel myself smiling. I'm looking for a certain quote. Not like here. Read this like a poem. What's that, you ask, Sister Daffy Queen? You see a bird, a striped bird? Well, beloved, I don't know what a striped bird looks like. Ha ha. Okay, read that. Now read that like it's a poem. What's that stanza? Picture all the things that have to do with the word what's that. And this is just a question. That's all what's that's going to wind up being. And then look at you asked. What's that you asked? And then just hold that thought a minute, and then look at who he's talking to, and then stop right there. Now you can see that he's asked this other person something, and you can see that this person answered. Okay, that's all you got to do. But you got to notice that it's a whole concept. That's all. That's all. And then look at it like you're handing it to you, like it's being handed to you. And this is real easy actually compared to some of the other ones that you do. But you gotta just hold the thought right there, hold it right there, and then look at that, and then hold the thought here, and then hold the thought, and then stop right there, and then notice that he's even laughing at himself. And this is just part of the content. But you can see that this person is talking. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, pay attention to the font. When it goes italics, that means that they're thinking in another tense, in another place, in another group of people. It's another level. You the past, I think it's future. The future tense is italics, and mind mental is italics. Regular old font though is another point in time. So pay attention to the font because they're going from thinking to speaking, or rather thoughts, spoken thought to somebody, to spoken thought to somebody else, to the audience. This is a level of reality, and this is another level of reality, a different one. Okay, and they're happening at the same time. That's how existing in two time periods at the same time looks. She demonstrated it, and she demonstrated what two places at the same time look that are happening simultaneously. Okay, I'm finishing my laundry in the other room, and so that's what that noise is. Just ignore it. Play, please play like you didn't hear that. Okay, this is a whole different tense than some of the other stuff. This is a one that I liked. Shush, enjoy the breeze. Nice, huh? Or shush, enjoy the breeze. Nice, huh? Okay. Can't you see somebody saying that to you just like that? Shh, enjoy the breeze. Nice, huh? You don't get better than that in writing. And then he says, that's better. That's how you got to read the book. And this is him thought thinking to some other people. And this is a hysterical passage. Okay, I'm gonna close that out because that's a. She didn't give any spoilers. I ain't giving no more either. Now, now I'm gonna jump out of there. These I already talked about, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and take these off because they are actually in the front part of the book, and we'll talk about the future of the real future of pro-black literature. I said most of what I wanted to say about pro-black literature is that I'm honored to be living in this time, to see the beginning stages of real pro-black literature. By pro-black literature, I mean the black literature that didn't hold back and didn't apologize for being black and didn't apologize for wanting to do something about our plight. They didn't pull back. They didn't put a savior in there from some other race. They didn't put all kind of Europeans taking over. None of that. This barely had a European. I don't think it did have a European in it. If it did, it was a marginal character. This was functional black families, healthy, happy black men, women, and children interacting with each other. Just pro black all the way through. Black, 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 pro black. It wasn't a downtrodden, we in trouble and we need some help kind of stuff. No, they were doing it themselves. They got the help of heaven. If they needed help, they got it from where they should, which is heaven and themselves. And so And if that's not too much of a spoiler, I don't mind saying that, because that's about pro-black literature. That's what pro-black literature should be. I want to see more of it, really. Um, Sister Aja isn't a violent person, and this book wasn't violent either. It was very, very, very smart. I think that if they were giving out PhDs, she would get one in nuclear radiation and nuclear physics, because she has read a lot and she understands that concept off the top of her head. She understands it very well. I suspect that she has read and researched more than the average physicist that handles the stuff. I think I honestly do think she's right up there with them in knowledge of it, and a complete mastery of the topic. Oh yeah, I think that. So I'm glad that that got to be shown in the book. I like that she worked in stuff that needed to be said, and she had it said in a way, and it was beautiful. It was well done. Some sad tragic tales here and there, but for the most part it was very, 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 very positive, except for a sad tale that's happened already, that nothing in our lifetime can be fixed, but what we can do is work on our future. This is the beginning, only the beginning. We only seen the beginnings of it, and I would like to see more of it. I am desperate to see more of it. I think most of us are desperate to see more of this. Okay, that's basically everything I had to say. And so I'm gonna upload this and put it in my and put this context and this content in my description box when I upload it. It's a beautiful book. Buy it. Not only buy the hard copy, but buy the go to the website and get the electronic copy, and get it as soon as you can before the devil decides to sabotage things, because you don't know what's going to happen, and we already got enough proof that the devil can and will do things like that, especially when they see something that's a help or a rescue. It's beautiful. It's a very, very, very beautiful book. I am so glad to have read that, and I think you will be too. Okay, that's it. Bye bye. And thanks for listening to me.